All right, welcome to the vodcast. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Bradford Loomis.
I am Kimberly Loomis.
And we love that you have joined us here on the YouTubes.
Yes.
So thank you for doing so. This is a little vodcast we're putting together where we talk a little bit about the artist approach in life and family and what that means for everybody involved, not just the artist. Our family is very creative. I'm an independent artist, but I'm not wholly independent. Everybody requires support. Everybody needs support. And so for us, my family is definitely a big part of that. So if you've ever been to one of my shows and I'm talking about my music career, I always say we. And it's a little distracting sometimes because I hardly ever play with anybody else anymore. And what I mean when I say we is I'm always including my wife in that for sure. And sometimes our kids, because we have been very fortunate to go out on the road and take the family with us when we tour during the summer. So that's the show. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to talk about the holistic experience of being creative people, trying to make a living at it. And if there's any way we can help you with your creative endeavor, or just, we've been married for 22 years. We've raised 3 kids, 2 of which are teenagers right now, and probably 2 of the coolest teenagers I've ever met. They're pretty rad. So if there's any way we can help you, we would love to do so.
Absolutely.
So if you like this video, if you get anything out, or you just want to follow along with what we're doing, like the video, hit subscribe. Let us know if you have any comments or questions, and we'll try to answer them in the comments. But if we don't get to that, we'll make a video and we will give you a shout out in the video when we make a video about your question.
Absolutely too.
So, Kimberly.
Yes.
Let's jump right in.
Okay.
We kind of opened this up on Facebook, and by we, I mean my wife, and kind of let people know what we're doing with this, what our intentions are with this vodcast.
Yeah.
And we got some good.
You did get really good responses.
Good responses and good questions. So, Kimberly, we covered the first one. We just kind of went in numerical order.
Yeah, in like order of who texted or who commented when.
Yeah, like first come, first serve. So I will stall until you're done drinking, and then why don't you read the question for us?
So Steve Zeba said, balance. She holds down the fort while you're on the road. You both are excellent people. I mean,
it's true.
Facts. Discuss the dynamics of how that works. We could probably all benefit from that advice. I'm not sure if we're supposed to discuss the dynamics of how we are excellent or about
definitely that's what Steve is going for.
Just kidding. Okay, so the dynamics of balance when you're gone and I'm home and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can say right off the bat that we were very strategic. For a good portion of my kids' lives, I was the stay-at-home dad. But Kim and I have switched back and forth several times. So we've both done significant time as the stay-at-home parent.
And significant time as the main breadwinner. Yeah.
So we know well the cost that both offer. And so when I started touring in 2013, it took a couple years before we took the kids out on the road. But from day one, we made sure that I was never gone longer than 3 weeks. It was usually 2. And that was because I'm any longer than that, and I missed my family terribly, and any longer than that, and it was just really hard to go into single parent mode.
Yeah.
Especially if you were working at the time, and sometimes you were.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped us like stake the claim of trying to maintain balance from day one.
Yes.
The other thing we addressed a little bit in last month's show was that we also would do a yearly check-in
Mm-hmm.
where the first year that we went independent, well, full-time, I should say, we decided we'll do it for 1 year and then we'll check in and see, is this working? Is it not working?
And not to say we didn't check in after every tour and check in, like, of course we regularly checked in with each other, but as far as like a zoomed out, what's that term?
Like 30,000
picture, yeah, 30,000
foot view.
Yeah, then we would sit down and really look at that financially too, and then just like, is this working for everybody? So
yeah, and if you've been to one of my house shows, in particular, but sometimes I mention this from the other shows, but like every November, I'd get off the road and everything kind of slows down. Mm-hmm. And all the touring being done, I would get into this mode I call the beautiful letdown. I did not coin that phrase, but it feels very apropos, where I would just second guess all of the life decisions. So invariably, we'd have some of these conversations then too. Yeah. I think we stopped doing the official check-in.
Yeah.
Just because it became such a part of our routine that we talk about all that stuff every year.
Yeah, and the kids got older, and it was they were able to help manage all the stuff, and we can get a little more into the details.
Yeah.
In a minute, but yeah, that helped.
So that's kind of how, like, from day one we approached it. What would you add to that?
Yeah, I think that's the most important part of it, is the check-ins, but also having a supportive community at home while Bradford was gone.
Yeah.
So we had friends and family who would step in and help out. I always knew I had people to call if I needed something, and it's escaping me one of the millions of things in my head where I needed a childcare would probably be one of them, because I was working during part of that time, and we had so many people who would step in and help out, and that was incredible. So having that supportive community around you locally at home for me was pivotal.
Yeah. And also, we were very intentional with trying to take the kids out on the road. Yes. So even if it, and actually, I think I've taken the kids on the road by myself, touring with my children while Kim was at home more often than all of us have toured.
Yes, that is accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they do great on the road. And that generally happened when I had a job where I couldn't just take off several weeks. So
yeah.
And I can tell you that well, again, that's another story we can put off for a little bit later. But that first time not having the kids, or like being home alone, was so weird.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But a welcome, and knowing like, okay, I'm going to be alone, but I'm not going to have the burden of taking care of 3 other people, and I can just focus on work and whatever. So that kind of gets you through that long tour or whatever when I am home alone. And I don't necessarily like to call it single parenting, because it's not the same thing.
Right.
Because he is there, he's just not physically there, but I have him to call on the phone and whine or whatever, as my spouse and as the father of my kids. So that is, but it does definitely feel like it's a whole different experience than tag team parenting with both of you at home.
It's true. Yeah. And I don't even really want to compare it like, better or worse, because I don't know.
Yeah.
But also, like, it's just different because you're so used to having it one way, and then it's different, and it's different temporarily. But
yeah,
I will say it's made for some interesting stories.
Mm-hmm.
I remember playing at a coffee shop in Santa Cruz, California, on tour with my 5 and 6-year-old children, and they are rolling around under a table fighting while I'm on stage, and I'm trying to like get their attention to get them to stop. Like, I mean, fighting, without drawing attention to them. And that was, didn't work. But for the most part, they were pretty amazing. And I'm very silly in the car.
They have so many inside jokes from when they've been on tour with their dad.
that we keep to this day.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty rad, actually. Um,
Full of bears.
yes.
Yeah. You have to tell that story now.
Okay, so I saw a bear walking along a river in Montana one time. And I've always been fascinated with rivers. So every time I drive by a river, I want to know what river that is. I don't know why. It's a meism. And so I will try to figure out what river it is. And then I would tell the kids the bear story. Well, apparently I told the story more than once. And so my son was like, I pointed out the river to them that I don't even remember what river it was. And my son, I said, hey guys, there's a river. It's let's say it's the Ohio. We're crossing the Ohio River. And my son would be like, it's full of bears. Because one time I saw a bear in a river. And so now whenever we drive over a river, that is the reply.
Full of bears. Yeah. Full of bears. Yeah.
And sometimes we chant. We're a weird family.
We need to get a camera up one of these days, and just record an entire day's trip and then show everybody.
Yeah.
What edit it for.
Yeah. But going back to the original question, I think one of the things that's really helped us, Steve, is that we have always from day one, I didn't necessarily want to be a musician. I mean, I always wanted to be a musician as a kid. I just didn't think it was possible. It was literally the only option we had.
Yeah.
We were going to lose our house. We were trying to make extra money. So I got into it, and it looked like we were definitely going to lose the house, but we're like, this is giving meaning. Maybe we do this. And so from day one, we decided together that we were going to yearly wrestle with contentment versus ambition. Mm-hmm. And there's probably been some things that I could have done that would have given me a better shot at success, but we decided not to do because having contentment as a family was more important than ambition as an individual. And those are tough decisions to make. And they're not, it's really easy to get divided over those questions. Like if that was something that ambition was burning in me, that would be really easy for me to resent Kimberly because her needs meant that I couldn't do that ambition.
Right.
But from day one, we decided our contentment as a family was more important than that ambition. And it helps that I don't want that.
Mm-hmm. We were never chasing fame for Bradford.
Right.
It was chasing a sustainable income with music. That was the point. And I think that's one of the things that if you're going to go out on an endeavor like this, or even just start a small business, anything like that, you guys have to decide ahead of time. And as you're walking into it, what your values are and where the lines in the sand are. And maybe you're not 100% sure, but maybe that the general values of your family are time together and not missing holidays or whatever. Then that you need to work that into your standards for how you move forward. Because there's been times where Bradford's missed birthdays or Father's Day or Mother's Day or something like that. But those aren't those things we've always said, like, we can celebrate when you get home. Like, we can celebrate the day. It's not the day on the calendar that matters. It's the celebration and the family and the present time that matters.
Right.
And not to say that you didn't prioritize trying to schedule around that, but sometimes that was just the way that it was. And we all agreed as a family, and the kids all understood that. And then when we had the time to celebrate all together, that was that time together was the important moment, not necessarily the day of the week.
Yeah.
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 That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good. I thought of something.
Did you lose it?
Yeah, I lost it. It was a relational point. Oh, I think that by making those choices, it's like when you if you've ever been married and you had premarital counseling, of any kind. One of the things they really encourage you to do is to try to identify as many potential simple problems. Who's going to mow the lawn? Who unloads a dishwasher? Who does the laundry? Whatever those things are, because a lot of times we carry assumptions into a relationship. So that concept works everywhere. Yeah. So when you are starting something new, you are carrying preconceived notions into it. Yep. Just like any relationship. So as much as you can identify those, and as many of those as you can preemptively, you are establishing a culture of, we will figure out what the points are and talk about them.
Yes.
And if you do that, then you are not going to catch all of them. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
But you've established a culture where you identify problems and you talk about them. And if that's the case, having that culture makes a significant difference.
Yeah. So an example, just marriage-wise, would be, I didn't know that women ever mowed the lawn.
Yeah.
That was not a thing to me. And Bradford grew up with his mom mowing the lawn. So
that is not correct.
Oh.
I grew up mowing the lawn.
Oh, well.
It was the one manly thing that I could do in my family because I didn't have a man around. So I thought the man mowed the lawn and the man took the recycling out. Because that's what my job was in the family.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I agreed with that because I was like, I just remember having a moment where I was like, why would I mow the lawn?
Right.
Like, that's weird. Clearly it wasn't because you were trying to tell me that, but that's like one of those things. But on the larger scale, when you're talking about starting something like what we've done with the touring and all of that, you're going to find those things where there's assumptions associated with that need to be brought up. And if you trip over them because you didn't know they were there, having an open culture, just like Bradford said, of being able to talk about it is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for being here and for watching the video, coming alongside of us as we get through some of these questions. We talk about family, we talk about creativity, what that looks like, how those things go together. We want to have you along for the ride. Yep, so feel free to like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow along. If you have any questions that you are, maybe interested in knowing, or you want to see us talk about, let us know in the comments or send us a message. If we can, we'll give you a shout out like we did with Michael and like we did with Steve. So thank you so much for being here, you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.